Felicity here. I am the satisfaction coach, yoga teacher, and reflexologist who is empowering people to live a happier, healthier, and more satisfied life that they don't need to escape from. And welcome to the satisfaction session. I'm here every Wednesday, 7 o'clock live. So if you're watching on replay and you fancy coming and joining me live sometime, that's when I'm on. I'm around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Not on Instagram because the thing what I stream off doesn't handle Instagram apparently. So I'm here with the cat, Missy. You can't really see her underneath my hands here. There she is, looking gorgeous as ever. So tell me how you're doing. Tell me how your week is going. Short week for those of us in the UK because we had a bank holiday Monday. So it's kind of the hump. See, the thing is, when you have Monday off, I have Monday off the day job every week. And I work in the day job 4 days a week, which means my hump moment is actually later in the week. Because if you work 5 days a week, your hump moment is the middle of Wednesday. If you don't work on a Monday, then it's not until the end of Wednesday, is it? But we are into the second half of the week now. So tell me how your week is going. If you're going to have a chat with me, make sure you let Restream know that you're having a chat with me. Bob some comments in. That always looks good for the on metrics. Give me a like, give me a love. It means more people are likely to see me, which is always useful. But if you're watching on live, say hello. And I'm not as prepared this week as I usually like to be. I usually like to have some notes up in front of me, and I've not quite managed it this week. But as I quite often do, I'm here to have a chat about the blog that I wrote this week. So I like podcasts, or I like a few podcasts. If you listen to podcasts, stick some suggestions in. I've actually got loads queued up. And I'm well behind the 3 main ones that I tend to listen to. So one of those is Steve Hogarth's. So for any of my Marillion fan friends, the Corona Diaries podcast. I am enjoying that. I do like that one. But I think it probably is one for the fans. I can't imagine too many people enjoying that if you're not a Marillion fan. But it's been some really good episodes lately if you are a Marillion fan. If you're not up to date with it, there were a couple where he's picked out, they did the essence of H, so picking out one song from each album, which kind of encapsulates who Steve Hogarth is. And then he did an ultimate set list, again, picking one song from each album. So those have been a few really good recent episodes. Another podcast that I really like is The Raconteurs with Gary Kemp from Spandau Ballet and session bassist Guy Pratt. Again, if you're even vaguely into music, you'll have heard Guy Pratt. In fact, even if you're not vaguely into music, you'll have heard Guy Pratt playing bass because he plays on Like a Prayer by Madonna and he plays on Earth Song by Michael Jackson. And he's played, he was the touring bassist for Pink Floyd for many, many years. So he's quite a funny chap. He's written a really good book as well. And I've seen him do stand-up. But the two of them always bring in, they have a guest to talk about music, really. Talking about that person's life and career. And quite often they talk quite a lot about their early passions in music. And it's quite interesting to see this kind of piecing together of how, and the layering of different influences of music down the years. So they might interview someone like Hank Marvin, for example, who would obviously talk about his influences going back into the 50s. And then they'll interview someone that, there's a lot of artists from the 70s and 80s who may well have been influenced by Hank Marvin, and then interviewing someone more recent, Noel Gallagher, who's been influenced by the punk era or new wave or whatever it is. Noel Gallagher one's really good. My very favourite one is still David Coverdale. It's one of the earlier ones. And it's just so much fun to listen to. He's got such a beautiful voice. He's so well spoken, but kind of casual with it, and such a rich voice. Yeah, that one's a lot of fun to listen to. So I'm quite far behind on that. I think I'm only up to episode 50 out of 100 or so. If you're into music at all, it's really worth listening to. And it's worth listening to the episodes of even the people who you've never heard of before, because obviously, like I say, they're bound to talk about an artist that you have heard of. So that one's a really interesting one. And then the third podcast, which I'm really going to talk about, is James O'Brien's Full Disclosure. James O'Brien's a talk show DJ and journalist, and similarly to Raconteurs, he gets someone in every episode to again talk about life and times and how they've come to be the person that they are. And again, like Raconteurs, I like to listen to them all, even if I've never heard of the person who's being interviewed. And there was one that I listened to very, very recently. And again, like Raconteurs, I'm a long way behind. So I think I'm up to October last year, perhaps. And I listened to one with a chap called Joe Trocini, who I'd never heard of before. No idea who he is. And they mentioned fairly early on that his father's Joe Pasquale, the comedian. So I was like, oh, well, I've heard of him. And this guy's obviously had he's had serious addiction issues. He's been performing since he was about 6 years old. He's been in show business since he was born. He's had various issues with drink and drugs, but also quite a lot of very deep mental health issues. And he said how he has very strong suicidal tendencies. Even now, and there was a really kind of almost shocking moment that he talks about how his first reaction to anything is, I'll kill myself. Like but we have in our brain, we have that kind of automatic reflex. And for most people, it will be to protect themselves. Their automatic reflex to something might be of a fear, or some people might react angrily. Some people, react more in anger. Some people react more in fear. Some people's automatic reaction might be to giggle. But his automatic reaction to anything that goes wrong is, I'll kill myself. And then his thinking brain kicks in and he's like, no, of course I'm not going to kill myself. That would be a stupid thing to do just because I've run out of coffee, or just because I slept in this morning. But it was a really fascinating character. And he said something that kind of hit me quite hard. I'm going to, I'm afraid, I'm sorry, because and he talks about how, I'm going to read the quote out. I needed to be the same person everywhere, even if that's not necessarily a person that I like or want to be around. I haven't got a choice. What I've found is I'm sick of me. I'm everywhere. I can't be shocked that I don't want to be around me anymore, because every time I walk into a room, I'm there. I'm everywhere all the time. And I think that it's more a case of me just accepting who I am and then trying to make the most of that I can of it. The most that I can of it, sorry. And what really hit me was that bit that I am everywhere. And I don't think he was meaning it from a point of view of he's a famous person, therefore wherever he goes, his photos up on billboards or his name's up above the door of the entrance of a theatre. It just means that wherever he is. And you're the same, and I'm the same. I am everywhere that I go. There is nowhere I can go to where I am not. And when you think of that, that's kind of weird existentialist thought. And it made me realise that, we spend a lot of our time running away from ourselves, from our lives, whether it's in big gestures of leaving marriages, leaving jobs, leaving families, running away from home, moving away from family, or whether it's in small choices, or whether it's in medium choices like going away on holidays, or whether it's really small choices like submerging ourselves in drink, or watching escapist television shows, or playing games, mindless games. We're always trying to escape ourselves, but you can't. You are there all the time. And Trissini kind of says, he comes from it from point of views of saying, I can't be shocked that I don't want to be around me anymore. But I kind of want to come at it from a different way. It's like, if you are going to have to put up with you all the time, why not make sure that it's a you that you like? And there's two ways you can approach that. And actually, we need to approach it from both ways almost. We have to approach it from a point of view of accepting ourselves and learning to love ourselves as we are. But we also have to approach it from a point of view of knowing that we can change the bits that we really don't like. And you can. The vast majority of cases, you can. You can be someone who you like. And that in many ways is much more important. That's the most important thing, really, isn't it? To be someone who you like and who you can accept. And that doesn't lie in what job you do or how you relate to other people necessarily. Who you are is in many ways much deeper, in many ways much simpler than that. It doesn't have to be as complex as we sometimes think we have to be as human beings. So I was listening to the radio today, and Annie Mac was interviewing the amazing self-esteem, who I slightly idolise, bit of a girl crush on her. And throughout the programme, she was asking her listeners, what do you like about yourself? Not what do you like about what you can do, not what do you like about what you have done, what you have achieved, but what do you actually like about yourself? So I'm asking you that same question. If you're watching, if you're watching live, watching on replay, what do you like about yourself? I put a quote from something that was shared around on Facebook as well. And these two things seem to come together for me for this blog. And it said, to become a person does not necessarily mean to be well adjusted, well adapted, or approved of by others. It means to become who you are. We are meant to become more eccentric, more peculiar, more odd. We are not meant to just fit in. We are here to be different. We are here to be the individual. Which I totally go with. And I think when you're kind of younger, especially as you're, almost when we're children, we're told that we're supposed to fit in. If you don't fit in, you get bullied a bit, or maybe a lot. As you come into being a teenager, you're supposed to fit in, start fitting in with fashion and doing what other people do and wearing what they wear and listening to what they listen to and being cool. They never tell you that the coolest people are the people who don't do what everyone else tells them to do, right? So we do a lot of fitting in when we're younger, and through to our kind of 20s and 30s. So keeping up with other people, and whether it's fashion, whether it's our life, trying to fit into that mold of a life that we seem to have all planned out for every human being in the West. You go to school, you get educated, you get a job, you get married, you have kids. That little map of life. So we spend a lot of time trying to fit in. And then I think a lot of people around my age, or kind of around the age where I've never really been one for fitting in, to be honest. But, you get to 40s or whatever, and you think, you've got all these layers. It's like every time we take on a new role, we're putting another bit of clothing on, we're putting another jacket or coat on, and then we get to our 40s and we're weighted down with the weight of all these layers that we've put over ourselves. And then we have to spend a lot of time, a lot of self-discovery, potentially a lot of therapy, or a lot of yoga, removing some of those layers. And saying, do you know what, sometimes, in some situations, I assume the role of daughter. So sometimes I put that jacket on. But I'm not defined by it. It's not stuck to me. Sometimes, in some situations, I put on the coat of woman, but I'm not defined by it. It's not me. It's a label that represents a part of me, but it doesn't in any way, none of these labels can represent you entirely. And I do sometimes think that one thing I will mention about the becoming eccentric thing is sometimes we try too hard to become eccentric, don't we? And then that's not doing anything either. That's just trying to not fit in. When you put a lot of effort into not fitting in, you're not being yourself either. Watch out for that happening as well. But how much can we take stuff away to find ourselves? And when you start taking stuff away, what do you like about yourself? Sometimes what is there left? And maybe what there is left is so rarefied we can't define it anyway. You can tell I've been reading about consciousness this week in preparation for my revolution class tonight. So this all felt quite pertinent, all this discussion of finding yourself, because that's what I'm doing for the next season in Satisfaction Revolution, and the doors are open so you can come and be a part of that if you want to talk about all these subjects in a little more depth. And we do talk about ourselves in terms of other people. I think that is important. We are social beings. We are connected, and we have to be connected. It's kind of important, that stuff. But at the end of the day, we're alone, and it's just us. So trying to kind of distill all this, it's basically going to spend 3 months doing that. So we talk about connections with other people, with ourselves, with nature as well. We talk about compassion. Compassion is really important when we're talking about our relationship to other people, of course. But also compassion of ourselves. So everything, all 3 months kind of go external and come internal as well. Connecting to other people and the world, connecting to ourselves. Compassion for other people in the world, compassion for ourselves. And then we move into self-care and self-identity as well. I'm going to discuss that little thorny issue a little bit too. But self-care of us externally and self-care of ourselves internally as well. So if you want to come along, I think the link is around somewhere. Never know which way it is. It's probably different on all the different channels. Go and have a look at what it is. And if you've got any questions, drop me a message, or we can organise a little 20-minute chat if you want as well, to see if it's right for you. There's no commitment. You can, and if you sign up and you're there for a month and you don't want to stay, you just unsign up. It's fine. But otherwise, I don't think I've got anything else to talk about. I don't know what I'd do next week. Would you like me to do a meditation next week? I might do that. So, if you've got anything that you can add to any of that, tell me what you like about yourself. Just put any responses in the chat. I'm always interested in people's opinions. And I'll be back for another satisfaction session next Wednesday. Have a wonderful week. And cheerio.